Okay, for this video, we'll be doing 2017 paper. Okay, let's start. This is not really in our syllabus now because you are not required to read the vernier calipers, but you may be given digital vernier calipers. You will also be given digital micrometer screw gauge. Okay, so I did not teach you on how to read all these manual ones, but part A you should still know. Vernier calipers may be used to measure to the nearest. For me, I remember vernier caliper, the precision is 0.01 cm. So how much is that in mm? 0.1 mm. So like that, you get your 1 mark. Okay. Now you are supposed to read the reading. It's no longer in our syllabus. Okay. So even though your digital micrometer screw gauge or your digital vernier caliper may read more accurately, but for MSG, your micrometer screw gauge, it will still be to the nearest 0.01 mm. That's the precision. You need to memorize. For vernier caliper will be 0.01 cm or 0.1 mm. Okay, so whatever you get from your practical, let's say, you must record to this precision. Yeah, so if not, you can actually refer to the instructions in the practical. They should tell you measure to how many dp or measure to how many 0.1 mm or 0.01 cm, things like that. Okay, but how about ruler? What's the precision? Ruler will be 0.1 cm or 1 mm. So which one is the most precise? Micrometer screw gauge. So what do we usually use micrometer screw gauge to measure? Diameter of a thin wire or a page, okay, in your TYS, maybe 10 pages, then you divide by 10. Okay. How about for vernier calipers? What do we use to measure for? Maybe like ping pong ball. Something that is slightly bigger. Okay. How about for ruler? Something that is pretty long, but you also need the precision of 0.1 cm. Okay. Part B, they ask us to get the reading. This is not in our syllabus. So later, upon total of 65 marks, it should be upon 64 marks. Okay. So Rima, you could have done even better because now it's upon 64. But later on, there'll be some questions also out of the syllabus. Take a look. Okay, this is an object placed 25 cm in front of a thin converging lens. What letter do we use for lens? We use L. L, So, do you still remember your This is your electromagnetic spectrum. This is your electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, why do I suddenly bring in this? And is this lens tested? To a certain extent, it is being tested in the light chapter because you are supposed to know the characteristics of the image. Okay, you are supposed to know the characteristics of the image. So for lens, I call it L. Okay, so L, I will call it light. Light, So which one is our light? Out of this electromagnetic spectrum, which one is our light? Visible light, right? This is our visible light. Okay, and O-level standard is that the object will typically be placed on the left hand side. It will typically be placed on the left hand side. Okay, so now if the image is on this side, if the image is on this side, it is, what does I stand for? Infrared, right? On the EM spectrum is called infrared, right? Short form is IR, right? IR, right? IR. So your IR is on the right hand side of my visible light. IR also stands for inverter and real. So this is to help you all to memorize inverter and real. I think in my other lessons I've talked to you all about this. Then how about on the left hand side of this V? Is U, right? U stands for ultraviolet. Short form is UV. So if it's here, it is going to be UV. If it's going to be UV, it's going to be upright and vertical. It is just a coincidence which I discovered, but hopefully it can help you all to memorize. That means if the image happens to be found on the same side as the object, definitely it's going to be upright. Upright is going to be vertical. Confirm one. If it's on the right hand side of the light of the lens arm, it's going to be inverted and real. IR. If you use an EM spectrum, you can use a U, V, and I to help you memorize this. Who don't know what I'm talking about? Oh, okay. If not, you can go back and watch my video. Okay? So now my object is here. Now, which of these light ray, A, B, and C are those that can definitely help us to locate the image? Which one? A, B, or C? A and C. A and C are the good ones. I can predict them. I can predict their behavior. So for A, it is parallel to this thing called principal axis. Okay? So if it's parallel, it's going to cut F. I'm quite accurate. It's going to cut F. Okay? How about for C? It cut F first, then it's going to be parallel. So A and C, they are like twins. Okay? Just that A parallel first, cut F. But for C, he do things the other way around. He cut F first, then he becomes parallel. Okay, not so accurate this time. But you know what it means. They are going to meet over here. They are going to meet over here. If they meet over here, what is the characteristics of this image? It must be inverted and real. Inverted and real, right? Because it's found on the other side. So it's going to be inverted and real. And O level, they like to use an arrow as an object. Because if the arrow point this way, and if the other side, the arrow also point the same way, that means they are the same direction. But if on the other side, the arrow point downwards, that means it's going to be inverted. Okay? Although O level say they are not going to test you on this drawing, but I don't know how much they will test. They did ask you all to find what is the characteristics of the image, right? So it's good to know some background knowledge of how we can draw the light rays. Then now you know that it's going to be on the other side, it's going to be inverted and real. What is the third characteristics? It will be the size, right? Size, huh? Then you can actually measure. This one takes up how many small square, and this one, if you draw it properly, it should take up a larger number of squares. So if it's small, that means it's going to be magnified. If it's going to be smaller, we use diminish. Okay? But actually, I haven't seen the question. Let's look at the question. So this one not in our syllabus. That means remark. Now you are over 62 marks. Even better. To determine the distance from the image to the center of the lens. So this one also not tested. Magnification also not tested. So over 60. Okay, let's move on. It's now moved so that it is 10 cm from the lens. So again, this one you must draw it. So again, not tested. But if they draw for you, you must be able to give the 3 characteristics. So now it's upon 57. So actually it's easy to score for combined science. Okay? Okay, then we go to this one. What letter? W or F, right? Then these are the dimensions. Got a trick here. There's a trick in this question. Okay? They give you the length in cm, height in cm, the breadth in cm. They give us G. Calculate the mass in grams. Mass what letter? M, right? They give you weight. What can you find? They give you G. So you use formula W equals mg. Is this SI unit chapter? Is this a SI unit formula? Yes, SI unit. So everything has to be in SI unit. So W is 125 SI unit. M I don't know. G is 10. So my M is going to be 12.5. And this is 12.5 kg. So if you don't know this trick, you will leave the answer as 12.5 and you will get it wrong. So answer is 12500 grams. But this one quite stingy, like that only 1 mark. Okay? How about the volume? Okay? So you'll get a certain value. Like that, give 2 marks. I don't understand. Calculate the density of gold. Better be listening here. Density of gold. Before we jump in, look at this. Grams per cm cube. Was our mass already in grams? Then over this volume, we will get our answer. Like that, 2 marks. So simple. The bar may be turned so that any of its faces is in contact with the surface. Least pressure. Pressure what letter? Formula? F already given, right? How about the area? It depends on which face it is facing. So if I want least pressure is the largest surface, you use surface contact area. Please use largest contact area. So you choose the largest contact area, 25 times 6. Okay? Anyone case? Units is Newton per cm square. I've seen students who take all 3 the dimensions and multiply together. So it becomes force over volume. If you're not careful, you'll do that. Okay, next question. This one, true, false. What happens if you write T? Will they give you the mark? What's the instruction? So you have to spell it out. You have to spell it out. Because your T may look like a F. I don't know. So follow the instructions. Do they have the same frequency in air? Satellite true using radio wave? True or false? Satellite. Satellite use false. Satellite microwave. Handphone also microwave. handphone microwave. Then when do we use radio waves? When you listen to 98.7. When it's over the, let's say this is Earth, then they got those radio station, then they got antenna, all that. Okay, or your TV got antenna, right? All this will be using radio waves. Okay, so do ultraviolet wave have shorter wavelength than infrared? True, huh? You must know your sequence. Total 4 marks, how many? You need to, there's no half mark. 2 correct to get 1 mark. Mark it yourself. Which one? Oh, pause. I'm just doing what some students will do. Never read carefully. It's meter per second. In the chapter of light, what are the formulas needed? What is N? Okay, now what is C? What does C stand for? Very good. Okay, why do I need to point this out? Because vacuum starts with V. And some students will put V as the speed of light in vacuum when it is wrong. It should be speed of light in the medium. And when you calculate your N, it must always be greater than 1. N must always be greater than 1. That means if you get less than 1, you are wrong. You are wrong. Okay? So can I move on? Okay, do you all remember this formula N1 sin theta 1 equals to N2 sin theta 2? Yes, so it doesn't matter whether is it less dense or denser. Okay, so you just substitute maybe less dense as 1, denser as 2. Then you must always draw normal. Always draw your normal. Do you remember your LDDT? Less dense to denser, it bends towards the normal. Okay, so this is when we are doing refraction. Then if it's from less dense to denser, it bends towards the normal according to LDDT. Just memorize this. LD is less dense. Less dense. Okay, yes, then I think if we see a refraction question, that we do together. Question 5, what letter? M. Accelerates uniformly, what letter? That means the A is constant. From rest, what does it mean? U is 0. Speed of the car changes as such. This is speed time graph. What is important about speed time graph? Gradient, what does it represent? So you cannot just say area under the graph and gradient. You must know what they represent. Area under the graph is distance traveled. Calculate for the first 6 seconds. This question, guys, listen. Don't listen. This question is easy, but there's a trick here. What is the total time that the car traveled? More than 6 seconds, right? But they tell us to for the first 6 seconds. So I have seen students who calculated the distance traveled until the 7th second. Why not? If you don't read carefully. So it will be using this I think it's 27, is it? Okay, can 2 marks. Acceleration, we use this now. Finding the gradient. Find 2 suitable points. 0 and maybe 4. It will give you the same number. Is it 3.75? Sorry, it should be 4.5 meter per second square. Simple. Like that already 4 marks. Use your answer in A part 2 to show that the resultant force is 5.4 kilonewton. That means your F net is already given to be 5.4 kilonewton MA. You have the mass, right? Okay, do you all get the same value as mine? So if I multiply together, it will be 5.4 kilonewton. So like that already shown, so another 2 marks. Okay? Calculate the work done by the resultant force. Work done is, what's the formula? Right? Guys, if any part of your answer is wrong and you use it for subsequent parts, you are given the full marks error carry forward. Okay? So, I hope you all get 8 marks for this. Simple, huh? Okay, stability. What affects stability? Not enough. Some more? Tell me more exact. Now then you're talking. What else? What else? Write this down. Write this down. So explain how the stability is improved by having a wider base. Okay. The larger the base area, the more stable it is. Why? Then how about the base made of thicker glass? The base is now made of thicker glass. So it will bring the center of gravity lower. So the lower the center of gravity, the more stable it is. Okay.